Bitcoin holders, I have some pretty good news for you. Doesn't mean we're out of the woods, but I am starting to re-enter positions. I gave an update on the Telegram community last night saying that today I'm going to be looking into entering more positions. And on this update video, we're going to go through the Bitcoin price analysis, show you the most important things that you need to know, take a look into gold, explore why looking at gold is important overall, and go over the liquidation heat map, which I've seen that many people are curious about. So we'll go into the relevance of this also. Guys and girls, it's another day for me at the hospital. I apologize for the funky hair. Unfortunately, there is no shower in the room I'm staying in, so hair is going to be a little bit crazy until I go back home. But guys, thank you so much for all of your wonderful comments as always. Destroy the like button, subscribe, and if you want to join that free Telegram community, it's going to be linked in the description down below. I shared the CME gap that we had from the weekend. I said that I'm going to be opening some limit orders to jump into Bitcoin and Ethereum positions because I like the way things that markets are currently presenting us. So if I go back to Brave, you can see that on weeks. Last night I entered a position at around 107,950. The CME gap is not closed yet, so there are still opportunities which I will share with you. And if you want to take advantage of those opportunities, not only that it's best if you subscribe to the channel, but also you definitely need a Weeks account. And I think Weeks is the best exchange for derivatives trading. And with this specific link, when you click it, you're going to be able to get a 20% deposit bonus. And I'm already signed up and I'm already trading, so I don't know if it's going to work. But yeah, so here, if you sign up, you're going to be able to claim up to a 20% deposit bonus, and it's only applicable with the first link in the description down below. If you want to try Pinex's wonderful trading bots, I'm also trading over there. With this link, you'll get pretty cool deposit bonuses. If you deposit $100, you'll get a $100 bonus, and $10,000 will give you a $1,000 bonus. So links are in the description down below. Let's cover the macro analysis on Bitcoin first, and then we'll dive into the short term. Right, so when we start off with the weekly time frame, the fact that this weekly candle, which is starting today at 4 a.m. my time, the fact that we're trading above this purple line of prior resistance, then turned into support after the final week of June, it's a very good thing because it's a very, very important level to be looking out for. Multiple times you found resistance. This was also the inverse head and shoulder, which you broke out the neckline from. Bitcoin pumped, and then you came down to it in the first week of September, found support, and bounced to new all-time highs. So it's a very important level overall, and it's partly one of the reasons why I opened this long on weeks, which, like I said, there will still be more opportunities. And one of those opportunities that I think is an opportunity I will share in this video. I opened a long here partly because it is very good support, and not just from that perspective alone. You have another perspective where you can clearly see there's a multi-cycle linear ascending line of support, which the current price level that we dipped to was bouncing off from, right? It's a multi-cycle level, or it's a multi-year level. So you can't ignore it. And I don't short Bitcoin at support. I think shorting Bitcoin at support and overall shorting Bitcoin in bull markets is not a good idea. I've done that in the past bull market and it didn't turn out so nice. So I always like to long Bitcoin in bull markets, and I like to put limit orders to long Bitcoin cheaper. I always shy away from shorting until I see trend confirmation, where you see a reversal into a negative trend. And that's going to happen once the bull and bear market support band crosses into the 54 simple moving average, which we haven't done so yet. So I don't see any points in opening any short positions in this moment of time. But we are in this pattern. We know that M2 money supply is heading to the upside. We know that there's still a good chance that we break upwards. So that's why I'm keeping my bullish bias. I did take some profits at 104.4 because of the 54 simple moving average, right? Which I still believe Bitcoin can come down to. That's why I have another limit order set at $100,000, because that's where the 54 simple moving average is tending towards. So in case we see a correction there, I'm going to open another position. So I took profits. I put a $5,000 trade just last night to DCA in. I went in at 107,950, and then there's going to be another position that's entered that's also very good support on price, and that is the $100,200 level. So I'm just entering in two ways. And you could have said, okay, what was the point of taking profits then? Because your average entry is going to be 104.4, which is where you exited. Well, at that point, because this was a double top, right, you never know. When you have such a macro double top and price is falling fast, and there was a lot of bearish sentiment, it can happen that price falls down very fast before you get the chance to exit. So for me, it was an okay thing to take profits, observe the market for 1 or 2 days, and now I've observed it. I'm happy about it. It doesn't mean it's over yet. I mean, it's we're out of the woods yet. But for me, entering back at 107,950, 100.2, and getting that average re-entry again makes sense, and it avoided the potential risk of us just vomiting to the downside. So that was my thinking behind doing what I did over the past week. You do have this huge rising wedge. Rising wedges are normally bearish. I'm still pointing into the direction that Bitcoin manages to break above it because M2 money supply was able to do so, and Bitcoin is very sensitive to liquidity as it's considered as a risk-off asset. So I'm still in the higher probability belief that Bitcoin is going to break up from this rising wedge, hence overall bullish, etc., etc. Right? And the final point of macro analysis that I will share with you is the fact that we are seeing a huge squeeze in the Bollinger Bands. Bitcoin came down to the lower Bollinger Band on the weekly time frame. We can even chart it right over here, so we can hide the drawings or remove the drawings, remove the other indicators, and we plot in the Bollinger Bands. Now, Bollinger Bands don't give you a sense of direction. They don't tell you which way Bitcoin is going to go to, but they do tell you that you're about to have some sort of an explosive move. So if we focus on this cycle, you can see here there was a huge squeeze in the Bollinger Bands, and then Bitcoin went from the low 20s all the way to 70K. The same sort of squeeze happened during this huge consolidation. Bitcoin went from the mid 60s all the way to $109,000. So we're getting this squeeze again, and it's almost certain that Bitcoin will have a large move. The question is it going to be up or down, right? That's the $1,000,000 question. Well, like I said, I think the probabilities of us having a move to the upside is still on the more likely end. If we do see that Bitcoin starts breaking below the lower Bollinger Band, which coincides with the 54 simple moving average, then yeah, we start to turn bearish. But until that scenario, the trend is your friend until the very end. Currently, trend is bullish. So I'm being pragmatic and acting with what the trend analysis shows me, and that's the fundamentals of technical analysis. And with that said, let's cover the short-term time frame also. So 4-hourly time frame, what is the 4-hourly showing us? Well, the 4-hourly, we still have a CME gap. So that's step number one. CME gap is still active. So if you want to jump into a position, I would consider, if you missed the 107,950 entry, then I would go to your weeks account, which you can sign up to using the first link in the description down below. The CME gap is currently situated at 107,365. So if you want to do a DCA, that translates to about 107,600 on the spot price. So what you can do is you can go limit. You can choose, do you want to use isolated margin or cross margin? Isolated only risks the amount of money that you put into a single trade, the underlying margin, so you don't risk your entire account. Yes, liquidation is going to be at a higher price level, but for this position, for example, I'm only risking, if this position goes underwater, then only $450 will be lost. But if you do cross margin, then you're risking the entire capital within your account. So I always stick to isolated margin. Then you can choose your leverage, and in limits, you can put the price you want along, let's say 107,600 for this example. You can choose the amount of USDT you want to use, or the amount of USDT value of the position. So let's say it's 10x leverage. You want to open a $5,000 trade. You're only going to be using $500 as capital, but you have to put the full position value, and then you can do open long. It's going to give you the details, so you use margin, $500, and then you can click confirm if you're happy, and that's going to set a limit order to essentially buy around the CME gap. So the CME gap closure is very likely, and then you can go into the 4-hourly time frame once more. You are at resistance. You are at some sort of resistance here. So a potential, you're going to get that drawdown, in my opinion, to close the CME gap anyways. But we're not totally out of the woods, because if you do get a strong rejection, then you still have the double top, and this is not not the nicest of occurrences. So short term, it's a little bit more ambiguous, but I'm more confident with the macro analysis anyways. We're going to jump into Ethereum in a minute. Let's go into the liquidation heat map. Most of the liquidity is piling to the upside. The liquidation heat map is cool and all, but it's not something that I would be concentrating a lot of my energy into. However, at 116, there are about $300 million of liquidity that's piling up. We know that market makers like to screw over your positions. So the point of which most people will get screwed is at 305. Sorry, is at 116, 300, and that translates to about the middle of this range, and that's here, right? So I wouldn't be surprised if that is to happen, though. You would be flipping the bearish trend in the zoomed in short term. So I would be looking forward for market makers to bring price up to that level, actually. It wouldn't be so bad overall. Before we end off with Ethereum, gold. So gold had an MRI top. Yesterday we did a stream, and I think gold is going to have a 1 to 4 candle correction, or at least it's going to experience some sort of a consolidation. For Bitcoin, this is great news. It's great news because whenever gold is consolidating, ideally in a downwards direction, the price of Bitcoin historically goes up a lot. All right, so very exciting stuff. Hopefully gold does experience that correction, and that should fuel a Bitcoin move to the upside. When you price Bitcoin against gold, there's a massive ascending triangle, and you're currently at support, so Bitcoin should appreciate in terms of gold. Finally, Ethereum, guys. Ethereum looks pretty good. You're actually creating the initial ideation of a potential double bottom, which will get confirmed only if you break above the neckline, which is at 4,250. But again, going back into the macro analysis, I do quite like how Ethereum found support at the prior resistance of the bullish pennant and the bull and bear market support band. I'm currently already in a lot of Ethereum positions, but if you do want to, over on weeks, enter another one just as a DCA, I think current price levels as only a DCA is pretty good. But we've been longing Ethereum since 1.5, 1.6, 2.2. So you would already be in quite significant profits. So congratulations on that. But I do like right now what I see on Ethereum at the moment. And if you guys are looking for a place to trade, Weeks is linked as the first link in the description. And guys, yeah, that's it for me today. If there is any sort of significant price move, I'll update you. I don't have much to do in the hospital anyways, and I will be live streaming in the evening over on the Moon Show channel like I always do Monday to Friday. So guys, with that said, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you all tomorrow or tonight. Bye-bye.